So, Lynn, it's Angela Mills speaking. I work for Paul, the town manager. I know we've met. I just started the recording because it's 7 o'clock,
Okay,
and we'll just wait and start the meeting officially once your group reaches quorum.
okay, sure.
So, Tom, it's Angela speaking. Would you like me to make you host, or would you like me to make someone else host?
No, thank you. Go ahead and make me host.
Okay.
And
So, go ahead.
we have quorum, so we can get rolling.
Awesome. And so this meeting's being recorded and will be uploaded to the Town of Amherst YouTube channel by the IT staff. Due to suspension of certain open meeting laws, we're able to meet remotely via Zoom. And at this time, I'd like to recognize the chair, Tom, and take it away, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Angela. All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Evening, I guess. Well, where'd that go?
Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, did everyone get the stuff I sent yesterday, the various documents and all? I'm going to just go and pull those up for myself too.
I was able to go through the website, mock up, but I was not able to access the the art, the interactive art map.
Hmm.
Probably need to add your individual email to it. I was trying to have it not be public, but I've recognized that's probably not a big risk, so I can update that shortly.
I think it kept just sending me back to the website.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. I wonder if I
So
just linked it incorrectly then.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was doing. I tried a bunch of different things, and actually to to view the website, I did have to log in. Um, sort of set up my own credentials to be able to access that. But
Uh,
that worked out fine.
okay, sorry about that. It was supposed to be a lot easier than that.
Okay, have I managed to share the agenda here? Everybody see
Yeah,
that?
could see
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, the minutes are kind of long, and I don't know whether everybody got a chance to read them. We can we can either go through them right now, or we can hold them if people want to cheat and read them during the meeting. We could hold them for the end. Do you think we can take a shot at doing them now?
Yeah, I mean, I got to read them. I thought they were really well put together. I didn't see anything missing. Um, I thought it was a great reminder for what went on back then.
Yeah. Well, as you can imagine, I spent a lot of time with the transcript. By the way, the transcript of the recordings runs to about 85 pages,
Wow.
and most of it is sort of, half sentences from people and such. So it's not like it's 85 single space content pages, but it is a lot to go through. And I wanted to be careful because we had visitors last time, and I also wanted to get a good solid set of items for the, for, okay, let me go to pull up the minutes. Okay. Here we are. So I started with a recap of the summary that I was giving in the first part of the meeting. And then we went to the conversation with Hetty Startup and with Catherine Stryker. We get to the resolution or the proposed next step, which is the draft of requirements. And I put in comments from various of you who spoke up during the meeting. So in particular, let me know. Those are at the top of, what is it, page 2. So I just want to make sure that I didn't get anybody on page 3, actually. I didn't misquote anybody egregiously.
Do you
Okay,
need
does
a motion?
anybody have comments on them? Do you feel ready to vote to approve them?
Yeah,
Okay, could I get
I'll
a
make a
motion and a
motion.
second?
I'll make a motion to approve
Okay,
the minutes as
okay,
presented.
Lynn, thank you. Could I get a second?
A second.
Okay, from Lori, thank you. All right, let's put that to a vote. All in favor of approving these minutes, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, we got that. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll turn next to chairs updates. I think we have managed to fill one of our vacancies. Had an excellent, really excellent interview last week with a candidate, and Paul Bockelman sent me a note during the weekend saying that he was going to recommend her for approval this evening at the town council. I think it's safe to say that that's a rubber stamp. Paul says they don't question or quibble about people names. So as soon as she can get herself through the bureaucratic steps, we'll be up to 6 members. They're still beating the bushes trying to find other candidates. We did have 2 more we were supposed to interview last week, but they ended up canceling out. Speaking of bureaucratic steps, you probably all got email, maybe from Angela or from the town itself, the town clerk, to do the annual revisit of the conflict of interest rules.
Got that.
I did that. A few weeks ago, and apparently after you've done the original, whole rigmarole of reading it and replying to questions, on this round, after it's your first, you're just pretty much certifying that you got a copy of it. So please please take care of that.
I can't believe I got that.
Okay, I'll send everybody. Oh wait, no, they'll have to be individualized.
I think it comes from the town because when I
Yeah.
got it, I was confused, but I thought it might be something that was left over from when I worked at UMass. And
Mm,
then I thought it was because I worked as an election worker. And then I found out that it was because of being on this board. They said it's
mhm.
every 2 years,
Oh, okay.
but I have only been on the board for a year, and this is the second time that I've had to
Mm,
do it. But it
okay.
came from the town.
Hmm. Lori, maybe if on a second look you can't find it, send a note to Angela, and she would prompt the town clerk to resend.
And what is it? What is the title of it?
Um,
It's conflict of interest, basically.
yeah, it's the compliance with the conflict of interest
Okay.
State requirement, I think.
Okay.
education.
I don't think I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
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 Or it might have gone into spam or something.
Could be. Could be. Okay. Town Hall Gallery. Um, January and February exhibits are taken up with Black history and um, exhibits. We do have a person who wants to display paintings in, I think that's going to work out for March. Should have that concluded in the next few days. It's, you'll see that they're very interesting. The person is a self-taught artist, and I mean, I'm no expert on this, but I think this person learned painting the old-fashioned way, which is copying the masters, because you can see it in the style that this person has. And he's an elderly Chinese man, barely speaks any English. So his wife has helped out with the communications there. And I think it's there's sort of a wonderful backstory there, and we'll try to develop that for the newspaper. Okay. Um, okay, moving on to uh, percent for art. When Lynn and I met with Paul Bockelman a couple of weeks ago, uh, he said that he'd like us to come to an upcoming meeting of the school construction committee to give an overview of what the process will be for percent for art. And what I will do, we haven't heard yet when that meeting is. I think he said mid-February was what he expected. And he would like at least, two or three of us to come to the meeting, which I think is held in person. Not sure. But anyhow, to run through a timeline and answer questions. So I've got two things to do. One is to draft some slides for that, and the second is to send you all um, enough selected background information so that you too are up to speed on this. The good news is that I won't have to invent anything because we provided this all before, upwards of a year ago. So I'll just dust that off. I'll send you a draft of the slides and talking points for that. And then when the date is known, I'll be looking for any volunteers who'd like to come along to that
Yeah,
session.
Tom, I think he had said February 16th, but then he wasn't sure if that was doable.
Okay,
So
that sounds
if they meet
right.
monthly, then it would be, early March. I think it was a good I guess, a good invitation, but on the other hand, it's a little bit frustrating because a lot of this information came from him originally because we're just following the guidelines that they had set up for us. So it felt like, you know, and I think he really they just want an
Yeah.
outline for what, which,
Yeah, they just want an outline because they're not going to be familiar with what the bylaw says. So the way I view it, Lynn, is that on the one hand, we have what you just said, which is a lot of what we have has either come from Paul or been reviewed by Paul
Mhm.
already. On the other hand, nobody seems to remember exactly what's in the bylaws. So when we get questions about, will there be public input? Well, that's covered in the bylaw. And I'll burden you all with a copy of the bylaw
Mhm.
too. And the side note there, um, the, without getting into the history, the bylaw was revised in 2020. However, all over the place, people's records, even the town's website, there are outdated documents that will turn up if you just were to search on percent for art bylaw. And Lynn, in that email that um, Angela sent us, that I think was AI generated, the materials there, the link to the bylaw is wrong. It's to the previous bylaw, which was substantially changed. So anyhow, that's just a little caution. Um, and Uncle Tom here will make sure that you get the right copy of the bylaw, and we'll send it repeatedly as needed.
So I'll add one more thing is
What was the
Yeah, Lynn, you go ahead first, and then
what
Lori.
I wanted to share was that Paul was very supportive of the project management person being hired. He said a project of this scale needs to have someone like that. And so my first concern with going to this committee was that we were going to have to rehash why we're, you know, why we want, how this money was going to be spent. That it shouldn't be a meeting about the financial aspect of it. That was my hope anyway, because I know that Laura, that was something
Yeah.
that you were concerned about in your email. So he was very supportive of that, even though and other times he hasn't really said so. So I feel like that's kind of off the table. We're not going to talk about that. It's just what the process is moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
was there a discussion of a timeline and process for hiring this?
He wants an advisory committee first, and then, that's his recommendation. He also asked us to see if there were other towns and things, what other people had. Maybe that was more the for want of a nail project, but anyway, I think we can come up with something based on our original presentation and then conversations that we've had based on Paul's own email to us months
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. So in summary, I think there's nothing new that we need to be inventing. We can because I think it was almost 2 years ago, and I did send him a timeline, and we can just change the dates on a lot of that. 2 months for this, a month for that, a week for this, that kind of uh, that kind of thing. Again, this is going to be just a, a first um, glimpse of the process for the people we'll be talking to, and they'll have probably um, very fundamental questions as opposed to detailed or process-oriented questions, because that's what we found when we went to the town council last May to make the pitch for full funding for the project. The people on the council just really, we had to tell them what the bylaw was about, even though they had been briefed and had been sent copies of things in advance. So I suspect we're just going to be talking outline. Lynn?
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was interesting about at the meeting was that Paul did recommend that we meet with the town planner. I guess he's a
Mhm.
part-time person who manages like the library project. And one of the comments that he made, which I thought was really interesting and something we never even really thought about when we were put together the initial proposal, is that in terms of citing a piece of art or several pieces of art, he said you should consider the fact that the existing school is no longer going to be there. So
Mhm.
that whole space is a space that, we never really, I don't know, at least I personally did never
Yeah.
thought about that as a location. So I think that we should meet with that planner before we kind of formalize an outline, because I think he knows, we don't know what the timeline is for that project and things have changed. And I think that would inform quite a bit of our,
Mhm.
possibly inform some of our outline.
Yeah. Okay. I think the substantive work that we should start working on now is the basic request for proposal. That's a little tricky because we really want to get the advisory committee's input, and we want to get a project manager slash consultant's input on it. I've been gathering examples of RFPs for other public art projects, and we'll send those. What makes it tricky is I foresee a junction coming up where we've got project manager and advisory committee, and they're not going to, they're going to be looking to us to point them in a direction to start thinking about, well, what kind of work of art do we want? Where would we like it placed, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it would be a good idea for us to start moving on that. It's sort of like, pardon the sports metaphor, but in hockey, the key thing is to be moving all the time. You don't just stand there still waiting for somebody to pass you the puck. So it's called skating without the puck. So that's one of my old long-standing terms for urging a committee to start working on something where we don't know exactly where it's going. But if nobody's moving, it's not going to get anywhere fast.
So could I just jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Only my second meeting. So I'm not aware of, I'm really excited to see all the things that you're planning on sending, Tom, in regard to the Percent for Art project. Um, the meeting that was mentioned before with Paul, I think the idea of some kind of timeline. Again, I don't know if this has already been shared and I just haven't seen it, but a timeline would be great. And I think what you're speaking to, Tom, and I'm not sure if Paul will provide any of this guidance, but is kind of clarifying the roles and responsibilities of our group and in relation to the project manager and this advisory board. Like, what are those roles? Um,
Mhm.
and are we planning on like setting deadlines where we'll be inviting them to these meetings? Yeah, again, I'm not sure if this has already been discussed, but really curious to hear and learn more about what our role will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good and timely question. Um, because like a number of things we've discussed here today and in previous meetings, we've got some agreement on all around, that is with Paul also, about the general shape of things, but not a month by month timeline, which is the key thing we need to get to, as you're saying, and as Matt has said in previous meetings too. I mean, just as a fundamental precept of project management. And I think we're coming up on the point where that phase of things can be, I think, largely set right at or around the time that we meet with the construction committee. Now, to the question about roles, I'm trying to stick very closely to the bylaw, and the bylaw is, I don't know, I give it about a C plus in how well it lays this out. So uh, the bylaw really puts the management of this whole thing into APAC's hands. And then it tacks on the requirement that there be an advisory committee, which is very loosely defined. It gives the bylaw wording, gives profiles of people who should be serving on it, but it doesn't say, for example, whether they write the RFP. It implies, I think it more than implies, that they are the ones who are expected to evaluate the uh, the responses to the RFP. Personally, what I think happened was, and this was an addition in the 2020 revision of the bylaw. It wasn't mentioned, I don't think, before. Well, it's not really important, but I think the concept that whoever drafted the bylaw had in mind was closer to sort of a jury, an art jury committee, so that people closer to the art itself are the primary people looking at the proposals and coming up with the recommendations. But then we go back to the bylaws wording, and after finalists are selected, there's to be a public hearing, chance for the public to be formally involved, and then APAC makes a recommendation to the town manager. So stepping back, the way I read it, and I've not been contradicted on this by anybody over the last couple of years, anybody from the town on this, is that this is primarily APAC's show to manage, and that everybody will be looking to us to sort of set the guidelines for it. The bylaw does takes takes the step of not leaving all aspects of the evaluation of proposals in our hands, but it doesn't lock us out either. So that's not perfect, but that's what's on paper. And my view is to keep APAC involved all the way through, looking over the shoulders of everybody, and having the project manager being our point person who's actually moving the project along, and the advisory committee sort of tucked in under our wing, not so much from the standpoint that we're going to control them, but that, they're essentially being convened for a few months to help decide what the artwork is going to be. Once that work is done, then it really comes back to APAC and the project manager to do it. Now, so I'll pause there because I don't know how useful that was. I'm
Well,
virtually hand waving without the text here to
yeah, oh, sorry, Lynn, if you want to.
I just was going to add just one thing. I think that the roles and responsibility is a really good thing. That was a note that I had written down, and I think that that should be part of that outline. I think that would be a question that I think that group would have is what are these
Yeah.
different people doing?
Yeah.
The other thing that I just remembered about the meeting that we had with Paul was he did talk about getting like a letter in the paper, some PR around this. And I think that he's using our meeting with this building committee as the catalyst to get something in the paper about the project. And putting something in the paper in his mind is also a way to get people in. You will hear about it and possibly get people interested in the advisory committee.
I think that's that brings up another thing. I started a document that I haven't looked at in a number of months at this point that was essentially a project brief for this. And I think what would be useful is probably I
Mm,
wanted to collect all of our information about it because I think there's roles and responsibilities, and then there's certain things that have dependencies because we don't want to get something in the paper unless we're ready to receive applications for the
mhm,
advisory
mhm,
committee.
mhm,
And I think it would be really good. And I started doing this is put down those milestones and say what needs to happen before this. We don't have to know the space of time. Doesn't really matter. It could be 2 weeks a month, but it's like this must happen before
mhm,
this.
The
But
sequence of kind of.
I think for this building committee meeting, it
mhm,
sounds to me like you should just present a brief of a vision. It's like, here's what we want to do. Here's who's responsible for what, and even tell the building committee, this is what our expectations are of you. And they might even say, actually, we really don't like that. We'd like to do X. And it's like, okay, then we can start to build kind of that
Mhm.
real process. But I think I started putting down notes of roles and responsibilities because I think it's important to even document all that and say to folks, this is what we're hoping you're going to take on. And then once they agree, then hopefully we can hold them accountable to that.
Yeah.
Okay, Lori?
Um, my research around a project manager in the past was that the project manager would do a lot of what we're talking about and has more experience than most of us. I don't know everyone's background, but certainly, will have worked on many of these many public art projects with towns. Um, and so to me, getting the project manager in place, I wish we were ahead of the game and we have the project manager to bring to a meeting like this because they really, they will be able to look at all the players involved, consult on our timeline. So I'm curious what the timing is for the project manager because I do believe that they will do a lot of the consolidating and mapping and scheduling, creating the RFP with us. They'll be doing all this work. So I feel like we're trying to do all the work of we're trying to sort of take on that role before hiring someone. And I think we're um,
I'm curious
taking
how
on.
the conversation netted out with the original estimate of what the contract was going to be offered to that project manager, because my initial peek at that was that it wouldn't be enough to really manage the project for a period of, I mean, we're talking about 12 to 18 months, aren't we?
Wasn't it 10% of the project?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we've been using.
Yeah, and I'm
And
curious
yeah.
because
Hmm.
I remember the last discussion about it was, is this more a consultant or is it a project manager
Yeah.
day-to-day operations? Because
Hmm.
that would, I think, determine one, it would determine the price and also what their roles and responsibilities net out to be. I think we were kicking around a job description at one point.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're fairly standard. I mean, in terms of they see it from beginning to end, and the recommendation was that it's a percentage rather than hourly because
Yeah,
sometimes these can take a
I
really long
think what we're
time.
going to find is that this this would be a part of an individual's work mix, um, and not full-time employment, and that the work
Yeah.
wouldn't amount to that level of engagement. Um, Also, uh, the construction, the actual construction of the artwork is going to be not on, it's going to be on the artist. Um, and the aspects of the project that have to do with the school itself, including the site, are going to be through the town. So
Well, can I
it's
just,
kind of be a kind of federated position. In other words, overseeing parts that are essentially delegated uh, out. Yeah, David.
yeah, I would just, again, I'm really excited to try to catch up. And so it's really interesting to hear what's already been done. So it sounds like it's already in the work, but I love the idea of kind of consolidating the notes, and information that's already been compiled in one place and making sure everyone on the committee has that. Um, I think the next logical question for me, independent of how involved the manager would be, is who's hiring the manager? How do we get the ball rolling on that?
Yeah.
Or when do we discuss kind of this committee's own separate responsibilities in terms of trying to play catch up? Like, would we need to kind of have one or two of us take the lead on that aspect while there's something else happening on?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Okay. Well, um, I will send some pertinent information, documents, past documents on this to you all. Seems to be my role. And Matt, in particular, since you had started working, um,
It's pretty
on
much
the,
everything you've sent previously in a
yeah.
single document.
Okay. All right, then send that to everybody, if you would.
I happily do that.
Okay.
And feel free to add comments,
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
thank you.
For me, my last comment on this is that I think I think this project is going to be front and center for us all the way through. I think various of us will have pieces of, we'll have tasks within it, as you were suggesting, David, because I think we're going to need to be a whole step more focused than we are now, and that means knowing who's watching what and reporting back, or in liaison with the other people involved. Yeah,
So
David.
can I just ask a clarifying question about the elementary school building committee? Was that what was mentioned as potentially being on the 16th?
Yes.
Okay. I think, Matt had this suggestion that we kind of have something that we're bringing to the table in terms of a vision. I like that idea. I'm also, I again, I don't know why this committee, why the building, what the building committee's role is, but I think it would be a great opportunity for us to ask some questions and get some feedback that could potentially be built into kind of the parameters of the RFP. Are there certain aspects of the building that are off limits, right? I hate to start with like what we can't do.
Yeah.
But I know as I think about and get excited about the possibilities, just, as a fan of public art, thinking about what's possible, I imagine, right, there's some real logistics here just in terms of the structure itself. And yeah, I don't know if this is an opportunity to get that kind of ball rolling as well.
I think meeting with the town planner will answer some of those questions. Because I know there are some places in the school that, have already been left blank as if, a mural was going to go there. So there, he could point out things like that. So, and also how the site has changed since last May when we did our presentation, there's things have changed, in the site.
I would add to there, and I'm not sure, Lynn, if or Tom, if you know for sure, but there are multiple committees associated with the elementary school because there's the broader building committee, and then there's the site subcommittee, and then I believe there's a design subcommittee too. So I'm not sure who our first step would be, or if Paul had already made a recommendation on who that is, because it's different groups of people.
Mhm.
And some
Mhm.
might have more questions and some might have more answers.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. I think our starting point, uh, and I think this is what Paul is directing us to, is the general committee, the oversight committee for the construction. I don't know whether the design committee even, I'm just guessing, they might have even been disbanded at at this stage of things, because based on some questions that I put to Paul at the meeting that Lynn and I attended, they're down to ordering playground equipment, and there's very little that they feel is still up in the air. Now, as Lynn pointed out, uh, all along in this, there have been a few allowances for, well, public art could go here or there. Um, and it's not all just, well, let's put it this way. We were told that any structural change to the building or even to the walls was is too late. Now, that's not our fault. The, the building committee should have been in touch with us much earlier on that. But but yes, we do need to explore uh, what options are still thinkable, doable. And as Lynn said, I think the town planner is the one who's got all those strings, all those threads, and can help us be better informed as we go into the meeting with that building committee, both so that we have the information we need to ask good questions and also to answer questions that the people on the building committee would have for us. I furthermore suspect that the building committee is going to be just delighted not to pick up any more burden of work. And that can cut both ways. So we have to be careful about that because there are very likely to be things that we want them to stay watchful for and points on which we'll need them to cooperate with us and support us, especially as we get to things like um, uh, setting the RFP, which is probably going to need to designate one or maybe multiple sites, options of different art forms and such. So um, that conversation is going to need to stay open. And the a committee in in their seats could go either way. They could want to control that, or they could want to wash their hands of it. My personal view is we want a kind of middle path where they don't try to micromanage it. And I suspect, just based on a lifetime of working with committees, that at this stage, they're probably not looking to up their own workload.
Yeah. Tom, do you think we could try to get a date to meet with the town planner in the next
Yeah.
couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think that's a to-do item for tomorrow, literally. Okay. Um, changing agenda items here. Um, just wanted to see if we could um, spend a couple of minutes on the Boltwood parking lot poetry boxes. Lori, I believe you suggested that. Do you want to speak to that?
Um, well, when I first came on the committee, we did put out a call for an artist to find an artist to come in and read the installation that was there has been there since the beginning, and it is it doesn't it's not what it was set out to do anymore. It didn't work anymore. It didn't function anymore. So, it had some, I think, video that wasn't working. So it was time to find a new artist. And um, we went out and brought in, we did an RFP, some artists applied, we chose an artist, and then that artist, it didn't work out with the kind of contract that we were asking for. But in the meantime, I guess they took the inserts from it and they didn't return them. So it all just kind of got very confusing. So in any case, the boxes that fit in the windows they would need to be remade if we wanted to have another artist come in and do something there. And so it's just been sitting there and nothing's been happening. And so to me, it just doesn't look good. So I brought it up because I think that we should either decide whether we want to keep that project going and try and find another artist and have the pieces made that are required to be able to have an installation done there, or just decide that,
Yeah.
we shut it down and get rid of.
Yeah, just another detail or two on on that topic. Um, the we're still very much locked down into the original design. So you've got these little windows on this brick building in the middle of a parking lot. The original idea was that you would walk up to those windows and be able to read on a video screen that's behind the window an original poem written by an Amherst citizen. The project broke down in that the artist lives in Japan, and the technical setup for it, I'm not closely informed about what that was, but it involved computers and video equipment. And as will happen with any tech system, you set it up, you test it, it runs for a while, and then after a while, things start to happen. And and frankly, there was really no provision for anybody to do the kind of ongoing maintenance that you would need. So the follow-on project, so that became a real uh, black eye for public art in Amherst, and the town still bitterly remembers that. And the replacement project was going to be much simpler, that there would be illuminated art that you would view through those windows. But I believe, and again, this is just before I came onto the committee, I believe that it was going to be much simpler. It wasn't going to be changing and wasn't going to have a computer back end to it. But still, we, the design of the thing is, I think, 4 windows and something to see. And
Is there a way that it could be? I mean, I did walk by there one day to see what it was, and there is that big sign that announces it, and then you don't see anything, which is, I guess,
that's
part of what
bad.
Lori's talking about. It looks kind of
Hmm.
Yeah.
ridiculous, and either they should take down the sign and then they just could be blank. But I'm wondering if is it something that we could coordinate or work with the art teacher at the high school? And I mean, it's small, so they do fiber art. Could the school students, the high school students, put something there, and it could be like a rotating thing, or the end of the year or something that
Well,
um
that's the
a little
level of thinking that we
placard.
need to get back to, I think.
Is there, sorry, I was curious about what was missing. I didn't quite understand. I was looking at pictures. Laura, you said that there was something that a fixture that is now gone that would need to be remade that held the art in place.
The boxes that are
Oh,
in
yeah.
inside of behind the windows, they're these boxes. I never saw them, but
Okay.
former chair took the boxes and gave them to the artist, and then they were never returned. So I think it's maybe they're wooden
Yeah,
boxes.
they're apparently plywood, plywood
I
boxes.
And
don't think it's
lit.
something, but
Yeah. I think,
yeah,
I mean,
they
it
go
sounds like we
behind. There's
should,
a locked door, I guess, and you go in, and these boxes fit in, and then so whatever the art would fit in the box, and then you'd look through the window into it.
yeah.
So those would need to be remade, which I don't
It,
know that that's a big deal. It's just to
yeah.
note that.
It might be cool to do a quick audit of the site and just see
Yeah,
what is
that's right.
there. I love the idea of involving the school in some way and figuring out how we could support them. It seems like it would be great if it was lit in some way, so that it would
Yeah,
also
yeah.
be a cool, especially functional and exciting at night. But
Hmm. Hmm.
I can't remember
yeah,
if what was in there, if there's electricity in that lobby
Yeah,
well,
area.
if there was a
I don't know. I never
computer,
went to see it, but
yeah.
I think my issue is in the meantime, because these things take time, can we get rid of the signage?
I'll go down tomorrow. I got a great crowbar.
I think too, we can find out who at Public Works had the headache of dealing with this and get ourselves filled in a little bit from that standpoint. But I think at the most fundamental level, coming up with a new concept for what would a person see uh, is is really the big item. Building plywood boxes, even I can do that. But so that's a doable piece. Um, Making it compelling and interesting, that's where we need a little help. But I think looking at it, getting it, looking at it, and what I can probably arrange is we get a appointment for somebody from Public Works to open up the compartment there, let us in, see
Mhm.
what's there, take that um, get that sort of view to see what's there, what we've got to work with.
Yeah, it seems like there's definitely power based on this funny
Hmm.
blog that I just happened across.
Hmm.
And I think that opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. And I I have a very strong video background, so I'd be
Hmm.
happy to, if you want to connect me with Public Works, I can go down there and
Okay, all right.
poke around.
That
Are you
that
saying
I
there's
can
a
do.
website that you found that shows those boxes?
It's someone that visited the art project and wrote a small blog and took a few photos. It's all from the exterior, but I can see that there's power. It are the bricks etched? Like,
It
are
looks
they?
like it, where it says poem window
Don't
still.
recall. Don't
It looks
recall.
like fairly permanent, but I guess we can
Yeah.
find out. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I've walked back there. I've never seen these, but I love that you have this moment that you can have like this really intimate, like personal viewing opportunity. I don't know if the word diorama was used in the
Mm,
original, but yeah, there are incredible opportunities for working with the schools and thinking, beyond just like arts classes. There could be some STEM build-ins too. Um, yeah.
hmm hmm Okay, we're getting up to the top of the hour here. We're not, let's look at the agenda again. I
I had some thoughts about the website and but maybe, Matthew, if you wanna, we could talk at a different time or something. It's like it's too much for me to write down and send out an email, but to have a conversation about some of the things. I don't know, maybe we don't have time tonight, but I'd hate to see this drag on also too long.
yeah, whatever works. I'm not 100% clear on what needs to be met about publicly or can be discussed in a smaller setting. So I
Yeah,
kind of look for guidance on that. And I also want to make sure people have an opportunity to weigh in.
mhm.
I think you
I
can have
think,
a conversation of between two people, but not three.
Okay.
Am I right, Tom? Do
well, I think the key um, the key line there is quorum. I think two is a safe way to go. So I think Lynn and Matthew, if you could put your heads together offline, I think you can take this. You don't need to do all of this in public because we're not talking about decisions or
yeah,
policy changes. We're essentially, you know,
Yeah.
we're within an operational frame
Okay.
talking there. So I think if there's anything the two of you can do to speed this up so you don't have to wait for all of us to all be on the page with you.
Sure. We can connect. But I want to make sure that people know they can still review what's done
Yes,
and offer any sort
yes,
of feedback. The
yes.
one follow-on I'd add is the stuff that I was proposing to add to the website is a little bit, it's not reliant on, but it did include some of the work Dara had been doing on mission and policies. And I
Yeah.
didn't know if we wanted to have a quick, how do we pick that up again?
Yeah. Boy, that's been so many months now. But my recollection was that we thought we were sort of one round of editing away from having it um, having it sorted out. Okay, I'll add that to the stack of things to send to you. Lynn, you were one of the last people to edit
yeah.
on it too. So if
Well,
you,
Dara had sent the last iteration, but it
mm,
had a lot of sections like, this would lead to that and this would lead to that. So maybe I can, you know, look at that and do another little work through on that because, you know, Tom and I had worked on a document for the procedures on gifting art and kind of what some of that is, and all of that um, would then should really be migrated into that document somewhere because it really is like a policy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my thoughts really, I really liked I liked everything of the consolidation stuff. Part of what my thinking was developing some archival rather than getting rid of some things, set up an archive of some of the old videos. I had some suggestions for some wording changes and a little bit of flow, but it wasn't like it really was not a big thing. It's just more, it's easier to talk through than to try to put in an email.
Okay, well, if um, getting back to Matt's question, if the two of you can take the
Yeah, maybe this is just one project then.
yeah, take this ahead where you can, and then point the finger at, all right, here's where we absolutely need that policy document.
Okay, well, if if you want to send me an email, or if there's times that you're available, or we could meet somewhere, you could come here, whatever, is a good way to do it.
All right, we'll catch up afterward.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, so I have a question here for David. As all this stuff goes flying past your head, uh, are you at the point yet where you can identify particular topics that you'd like to move into a bit?
I'm open to suggestions. I mean, I think I'm really excited, just listening. Like, I would love to go do a site visit to, the window project that we're talking about. I'm excited to like learn more about what's already been done, um, with the percent for art. And I guess like knowing my background, I'm curious how I could help potentially connect with artists or think about um, some of the conceptual possibilities as we go about, if we go further into um, the percent for art project. But I'm still kind of getting the lay of the land.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
But
enough.
if there are assignments or things that I can contribute in terms of research, um, I'm happy to do that, right? If we want, like, it sounds like there are plenty of research and templates that have already been looked at for RFPs. If there are other kinds of documents or guidelines that we could benefit from, I'm happy to explore that. Again, very curious about the process for selecting a project manager. I'm not familiar with project management, but again, are there folks in the local art community, in the local museum community who I'm familiar with who could be of service?
Mhm.
Just as my experience working at an art museum is definitely thinking about the timeline for installations and all of the things that need to kind of happen, both with materials and the setup of a space. So I don't know yet if and how that will
Okay.
be applicable, but when we get to a certain moment, I'm happy to volunteer.
Okay. I thank you. That's very, very helpful. Very helpful explanation. Thank you. Okay.
We should probably quickly just update folks on the for want of a nail, Tom. I think,
Yeah,
did you send out, you sent the thing to Paul. Did the rest of the committee get a copy of that?
I don't think I did, but I'll do that now. Um, I was a little reluctant to put it up as a public document before Paul gets back to us on it, but I'll send it to the members of the committee because um, we may be very close to being able to move ahead on that project. The, the conversation that Lynn and I had with Paul really didn't bring up any discrepancies in views. So I'm hoping that his review of it will give us essentially the go-ahead. But I'll send that to you now.
Well, send it as a draft because
As
it
a
is a
draft.
draft.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially what Tom had sent out something a while ago that was very specific to that project. And Paul's comment was, well, make it generic. And so that's what we did. We worked on a generic version and added some things to it. So that's what you'll see as a draft.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, do we have any other items to bring up before we adjourn this evening? Okay, I'll try to remember all the things I promised, but we'll want to get a look behind the poetry boxes, want to get a meeting with a town planner, want to get documents into your hands with background on the timelines and dependencies such as we've worked on them worked them out in the past to prepare for that meeting coming up. I'll get with Angela tomorrow to ask her whether that meeting has been in fact scheduled and add the prompt to her to give us a shout when it is.
Is there any documentation that's available on that the picture window project? Like it seems like there must be something about that, something about the size and construction
Yeah,
or anything.
yeah,
No?
there is. When I became chair, I sort of pulled in all of the available documents, both paper and online. So I'll go back and find what's there.
That might help.
I think we even have the contract itself for it, which is probably the best chance that we get a look at what was actually proposed and probably actually built.
I mean, I do kind of like the idea of revisiting it and coming up with a new concept that we could then move forward with. So seeing that would probably help a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Lynn, and can I get a second?
I'll
That's
second.
Okay, thank you, Matt. All right, all voting to adjourn, please wave your little fingers. Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. All right,
you.
watch for the electrons burning in your direction with email.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
stay warm and safe.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, bye now.